All right.
Welcome, playwrights, actors, populists, and I'll get you, my pretty, and your tin dog, too. This is episode 328 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 6th of November, 2019, and featuring the Shakespeare Code, written by Gareth Roberts, and starring David Tennant as the Doctor and Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. I am your host for the night, Randy Ronson McCulloch, and with me on the panel is my co-host, Bill Man in Black Silva.
Hope everybody voted.
Our technical director, Mad Matt Winchell.
I'm drinking Crystal Light.
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
I voted.
And Thomas Fireheart, who is not apparently asleep this week.
And Expelliarmus the shit out of this one.
All right. So, how's everybody's week been?
Yesterday could have been a lot better, but it wasn't terrible.
You went to the dentist?
I'm less stressed now that I'm no longer playing Blizzard games outside Diablo right now.
I'm playing StarCraft 1. That's about it.
But just playing Diablo 1 with Aaron on Mondays now.
But no, I've been on antibiotics for like 8-9 days now. I hate them. As it literally feels like somebody has put a tap in my energy and is just poured all my energy on the floor. Yeah. I'm okay at the moment, but mind you, I slept until like 8:30.
You need to find where that tap is and put a bottle under it.
I swear to God.
If you could bottle that shit, it'll be worth a fucking fortune.
But I'm done tomorrow, so I'm happy about that. And that means that, all the pneumonia is gone. Thank you, Lord. Just in time for the winter weather to hit us again.
Oh, don't I know it? That was the second time in 2 weeks I had to clean the driveway by hand.
So, work yesterday because I had a doctor's appointment to get my blood tested, yada, yada, yada. And she's been driving my car, so she comes out and she starts futzing with my radio, and just because she could, turns on a Christmas music station.
Oh.
I turned it back to 1015, which is my usual radio station. I'm just like, never mess with a man's radio. Yes,
admittedly, the driver controls the radio.
She just wanted to see my reaction because...
Oh, she just wanted to mess with you. Okay.
I still need to figure out how to program my radio because there's two stations I switch between, but none of them are close enough. Like when you click seek, they're the signal's just faint enough that most of the time does not show up, so you have to manually adjust it to those stations.
I have 3 FM stations and 2 AM stations I occasionally switch between.
Obviously, depending on what's going on.
I usually switch between the Hartford hip hop station and the New York City hip hop station, and since I'm halfway between the two, which one is actually strong enough to listen to fluctuates depending on where I am in the city.
I just listen to new retro wave on YouTube.
Classic rock, oldies rock, NPR, and then AM I have talk radio and NPR.
Any other music, I just occasionally look for it when
I don't
feel a need.
Ever listens to AM radio?
Well, I do because back a while ago, there were some things on NPR that only streamed on the AM band as opposed to the FM band, which was almost always classical music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a radio show from around here called What Do You Know with Michael Feldman, and that only showed up on the AM band. So I'd listen to the AM band.
Yeah, AM I figured it was just talk shows and news.
And the talk radio station also used to be the sports provider for like the Badger football games. So I would occasionally like to listen to the Badger game. I'm not the hugest football guy, but I did pay attention to the Badgers back when I worked for the university.
That's pretty much the same reason my parents have one of those channels is set up is because they can listen to Packers on there when we're not at home.
Mm-hmm. And now I keep them out of habit because now they play that stuff on the FM band too. So, but it's like I put on one channel until they play something I don't like. Then I switch to the other channel until they play something I don't like, and then I switch to the classical music for a couple hours, and then I repeat. One thing I have is an extreme hatred for the band Rush.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's right, because they only keep playing the 1 or 2 songs, don't they?
Yes, they play the same 3 goddamn songs 6 times a day.
For fuck's sake, there's more to their library. God damn it, what a lazy station.
It's like every time I'm in the car, I hear one of these 3 songs. And it was even worse because yesterday I was driving on 2 for Tuesday. We get out from having breakfast.
Spirit of Radio.
Actually, I don't hear that one that often.
Oh, wow. That's even worse.
Yeah.
That's a good one, and they skip that? Oof.
Go ahead. Try the other ones.
Oh, I'm trying to think now. Subdivisions, it's one of my favorites.
Nope.
Oh, wow. Brain, I know there's other good ones. Just trying to think of names off the top of my head right now. It's just not working.
Limelight. Tom Sawyer.
Okay, that one I can understand, but still.
And New World Man.
And what?
New World Man, I think it is.
New World Man.
Yeah. Limelight is the only one of those I can barely tolerate. But yeah, it's just
okay. I know Limelight. And what's the other one?
It might be Working Man, actually. I don't know. It's one of those songs that I just I immediately turn off.
Rush, Working Man.
They call me the Working Man. Yeah. Either way, it's just I can't.
Yeah, I can't say I even know that one. Wow, why do they repeat these ones so much?
I don't know, but they repeat them so much that I hear them like every car trip I have.
SOPs can play some Xanadu for crying out loud. They actually have a song called Xanadu. It's awesome.
I just have to, at that point, I have to turn it off because I've heard it way too many times.
And like I said, Subdivisions is one top on my list for Rush, and I'm surprised they don't play that.
They don't play any Rush after 1975. I swear to God. Anyway, it's the same reason I couldn't listen to big hair bands back in the late 80s is because they played them to death. I hated Bon Jovi as a kid because they played it constantly.
But now when you hear it every once in a while, it's like, oh, this is so good, actually.
Yeah, now that I'm, 20 years later, 30 years later, fuck, I'm getting old. I'm like, I hear the song on the radio and I'm just like, why did I hate this?
Because you listened to this station and only played this and maybe 5 other tracks constantly all day.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I started to hate even the good stuff around the time I stopped listening to music.
Well, mind you, when, 80s rock was a thing, I was listening to 60s rock. I was listening to the Beatles, the Monkees. I was listening to stuff like that.
Well, late 60s, early 70s, yeah.
And I didn't start listening to 70s, 80s rock until about halfway through the 90s when I got sick of grunge. And I got sick of grunge just because every band was a grunge band. It was like, oh God,
yeah. The point where everyone was an underground grunge band or trying to remain an underground grunge band. It's just like, oh God, stop whinging.
Yeah.
So in non-music podcast news, I have registered for my last semester of classes as an undergrad. And I intentionally took it easy because the type A in me wanted to take 17 credits and the realist in me knew that I was not going to finish my thesis if I did that. So I took.
Don't make you want to hate yourself, Bill.
So I'm taking 3 classes I have to, plus gym, and then just enough to keep myself within financial aid compliance. I took a simple class, which is going to be about analyzing Black Mirror and reading science articles about like what's actually realistic about it.
Just remember, Bill, you do not have a time turner.
Right.
You cannot sit there and try to, cram everything into one semester and then pray to God you can go back in time and take the stuff you forgot.
In related news, I'm going to be so happy when I am in grad school and I don't need to work 40 hours a week outside of school, in addition to classwork, because my job will literally be to be at school.
Because you'll be teaching the undergrads.
Mm-hmm. Or I mean, depending on what program I'm in, I might just be conducting research all week long, which I would not be opposed to either.
Yeah, usually they have you teach at least one class.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least 8 in one class or something, yeah.
I'm also going to look into continuing writing center work, so it's possible instead of doing TA hours, I may just be a graduate assistant in the writing center.
Mm.
Depends on what you aim for and what they can give you.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've been playing some Max Payne this week. I have to say the best part about the game is these little TVs I keep occasionally finding that play some random ass shows. So this, by the way, for those who don't know, Max Payne is made by Rockstar. Back in like the Grand Theft Auto 3 days. So the first TV show that I came across is Lords and Ladies. Majority of this show is just 2 characters saying "my lord" and "my lady" constantly at each other while talking about something. And literally, the first show of that ended with the woman saying that she's the guy's sister. It's like, oh, okay. And then the second show I found so far is something. I just call it the Flamingo because it's literally about a guy who dreams about an evil version of himself talking to a flamingo that talks in gibberish, but somehow he understands it.
Yeah.
And in the end gets murdered by the flamingo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah, it was literally like Twin Peaks with flamingos.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to, on tonight's show, we have news and birthdays. There's a little bit of news, not much. We have an entry in Breaking the Rumor Mill that I want to talk about.
Yep.
We have some geek talk. And then I think it's on to our episode summary review, final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get the show on the road, shall we? We have 2 birthdays this week. The first one is on the 3rd of November, and that would be the birthday of Richard Herndl. I'm sure you all remember who Richard Herndl was.
The Doctor.
He was the replacement first Doctor in the 5 Doctors.
The first replacement for first Doctor, yes.
Yes. Well,
not to be confused with the second replacement for the first Doctor.
Except for the fact that there's only one replacement for the first Doctor that was in the 5 Doctors.
Yes.
Sure.
The other replacement for the first Doctor wouldn't show up until Twice Upon a Time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Herndl would have been 109, but he died in 1984 at the age of 73.
It's like within a year of that episode, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, for a while there was a curse on the first Doctor's position. You play the first Doctor in any Doctor special, you die within a year.
It seems that Doug Bradley broke that. I was really waiting for him to croak.
Yeah, I was like, please don't croak.
Not like eagerly, but like expecting it.
Panically waiting, and else it's like, wait, it's not like 3 or 4 years now. He hasn't croaked. He lifted the curse.
Mm-hmm.
Also, probably due to the fact that he played the first Doctor for multiple things very quickly. I think maybe that broke the curse.
He did not play it in a multi-Doctor special. It was not the X Doctors.
Oh, maybe it's a multi-Doctor special. That's the curse.
But Twat was still a 2-Doctor special.
It was, but I mean, it wasn't it did not have the name The Two Doctors again.
Two other doctors. The New Who only fans would have been like, "What is this madness?"
Another two doctors.
Two more doctors, yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean by it. He wasn't in the X Doctors. Apparently, if you play the first Doctor in that, you die. Anyway, the 5th of November, i.e. yesterday, also saw the birthday of Andrew Hayden Smith, who played Jake Simmons back in 2006, originally in Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel, and again in Army of Ghosts Doomsday.
Yep.
Was that
Because-
Ricky's friend?
Yeah,
Yes,
that
it was.
Yeah, that was Ricky's friend.
And then later Mickey's friend.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
As they go out to save the world in a van.
Mm-hmm. He turned 36.
God, he's barely older than me by a couple years.
Yeah, well, he was in his early 20s when he did this, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had to have been 23, 24 when he first did that role.
yep. And now he's in his mid to mid 30s. You know, Matt Smith's only 37, so
Yeah.
you got to remember he was also what was he when he took over? He was 20,
Matt Smith, I think he was like 21.
21 or 23, something like that. Yeah.
I think he was.
No, he was older than that.
27 or 26. I think he was 27. No, wait.
He was in his mid to
Yeah.
late 20s, yeah.
Peter Davison was 29 when he took on the role. I'm pretty sure Matt Smith was 28, 27 or 28. So it wasn't. He wasn't
Okay,
the
Google
youngest by that much.
says he was roughly 28, depending on the month. So I
Okay.
thought I had seen something saying 21, but
No,
Matt-
that's
Matt-
way too...
Matt-
That'd be
Matt
younger
Smith
than me.
Matt Smith was born in 1982.
Yeah,
He
he's 2
took
years older
over
than me.
he took over in Christmas 2009. So
yeah, that's true. I looked up 2010, not 2009.
So 8 years to 90. He was 18 in 2000.
18 in 2000.
It
so,
depends what month they filmed it. His
27.
birthday is in late October.
Yeah,
Yep.
he would have been 27.
So if they filmed it before his birthday, he was 26.
Either way, that's not 23 or 21.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not that young. He's not younger than me, damn it.
I mean, he looked like he was 12, right? So.
He acted like he was 12. He's sure.
Well, though
Script
you know,
required.
we were sitting here watching this with prediction analysis going, okay, you realize that means the 13th, 14th Doctor is going to be 18, right?
And then the next one was 55.
Oh, they went the other direction.
All right.
Oh, wow,
So
Jodie
no-
Whittaker and Matt Smith were born the same year.
So
Jodie's a few months older.
and didn't take over until
Years
Last
later.
year, so.
Yeah.
She was
anyway.
well into her
Happy
30s.
birthday,
Anyway.
Richard. Happy birthday, Andrew. Moving on to our Doctor Who news. Our first thing is a little Series 12 news.
Okay, according to the Twitter account of one of the makeup artists on Doctor Who, principal photography finished on Halloween morning. That means that for all intents and purposes, Series 12 is in post with less than 2 months before its Christmas launch. She then goes on with the usual that it's been amazing 10 months of filming. We'll see you starting on Christmas, won't we?
We shall
Yeah.
see.
I'm a little worried because the last thing filmed was the Christmas special, and that means that's going to be the last thing to go into post, and it's going to be the first thing we see.
Well, hopefully they didn't need much that needed to go into post then if they scripted it right.
I hope
Hopefully
so.
all the CGI was done before filming.
That too.
Kind of hard to do that because you gotta sometimes.
But yeah,
gotta build
usually if it's
Yeah.
going to be done well, it's going to have to be done afterwards.
off. Mhm.
Because you need to all the lighting measurements and stuff that only comes after you're done filming.
They could do some preliminary design stuff,
Yeah.
but the overlay.
Although they could do all the textures and motion and add the lighting afterward, I think.
Not the motion, because the motion is usually based off of motion captures.
Yeah, and you can't do the lighting because that's going to be taken
Depending
literally
on
on
what
set
sort of
when you're filming. You
story
can't
it
just
is,
be
yeah.
doing the lighting afterwards.
Well, I mean, the lighting of the
beforehand.
CGI portion. Like, you can always adjust what
No,
angle it's
again,
coming
no, Bill.
from.
You need the lighting measurements from on stage if you're going to make it look
That's what
right.
I'm saying. So you do the stage and then you do the lighting. You do that. That's what I said.
No, you're making it sound the other way. But anyways,
Anyway, that's all the Series 12 news we have. It's been another news light week, but there's a couple other things.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Anyone interested in some books? Well, coming in February, former companion Sophie Aldred writes a new novel in the Doctor Who universe. In At Childhood's End.
I just
Dorothy-
got the acronym. I didn't realize that.
Low Slurner.
Dorothy McShane teams up with the Doctor, Ryan, Yaz, and Graham to uncover what has been causing teenage runaways to disappear. At Childhood's End by Sophie Aldred is due out 6th February 2020 by BBC Books.
It seems a little weird to me. Wasn't she calling herself Ace in class?
Not sometimes, but she's her CEO name is Dorothy McShane.
Gotcha. Okay, so she was going by both.
Yes.
she's
Okay.
technically going by both, yeah.
Yeah, it does mention the fact that she is the head of a charitable Earth. So they're going with that continuity that's
Right.
going on. So
I do hope that she has the time motorcycle just to sync things up a bit, but
I have no idea. I want to read this book simply because I want to see Ace's mind blown that the professor has been turned into a girl
who's younger than her?
who's younger than her. Yes, that's why I said a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what is the canon level of the novels?
They're not.
Very grayscale. Very, very grayscale.
That's not
At this-
something. It's not really canonical. It's kind of like the old Star Wars expanded universe stuff,
Hmm.
Mm.
and the fact that you can choose if you want to think it happened, but they're
Well, with the Star Wars reboot, they made a very clear distinction. Everything is completely different.
yeah.
With this, yeah, but I mean, with the novels, my experience is it's not unless it gets added to the show.
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically.
Unless they
If
decide-
we
unless they
find a
decide to-
notation somewhere later that the show is taken into stride, and it's like, okay.
Unless they decide to crib it later for an episode, but no.
Mhm.
It's kind of your choice whether you want to believe it or not, because I can tell you there was some stuff back in the Virgin and early BBC Books thing that were like way the hell out on left field. Like a companion turning into a TARDIS.
Yep.
That was like,
Jesus.
oh yeah!
Kill me now.
That is definitely someone just went, screw it, I'm going to send in my fan fiction and see what happens.
That said, that was also at the point where like all the Doctor Who fans were like bitter adults who thought they were never getting their show back.
Oh yeah, this was the mid to late 90s when Paul McGann they thought they might get this thing with Fox, and then that died, and so they were all bitter and pissed off. So they destroyed the TARDIS, turned a companion into the TARDIS, and had the Doctor ride around in a companion for a while. I'm like, what are you guys smoking?
I think the
That
newer
sounds like
novels
the
are a little
start
more
of, Doctor Who
restrained.
porno.
Oh my.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That's called Doctor Where.
There's a few different Doctor Who pornos.
Dr. O, behave.
Doctor Whoa.
That's a good one. But yeah, I think the new novels are a little more restrained. They're made to be things that could reasonably fit between episodes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Probably with a bit more
it's
oversight
still-
by the BBC.
Yeah, it's still you can take or leave it if you please, but yeah.
But they're not going to do anything that drastically
Yeah,
alters.
that was when Virgin Books held the license, and this was the same age that Star Trek pulp novels were huge.
And yeah, and there was no Doctor Who showrunner to look over their shoulder. What was
Yeah, there
what was
was no
John Nathan
oversight.
Turner going to do? Say fuck you, I don't care.
Oh, he was dead by then. No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
No, he was from for a little bit, yeah.
But he was sick. So
Mm-hmm.
And he spent like didn't he spend a while trying to get out of Doctor Who anyway? So by then he would not have given a damn.
Yeah.
More
or less.
No, it was still his baby.
The asylum.
By
the
end of McCoy's run, he wanted out, but they were forcing him to stick around.
Yeah, and then
the
after
inmates were definitely running the asylum.
And then still though he came back for that which must not be named.
Wow.
Which was, I believe, his last huge hurrah in Doctor Who.
You mean his last huge failing?
He did show up for doing like DVD release stuff until like 2001. And then after that he got sick and died in like 2002, 2003. After which immediately they went to the BBC and was like, we'd like to restart Doctor Who, please.
Funny time.
So I guess I should move on.
Yeah.
Speaking of things of questionable canonicity, yesterday saw the release of the latest short trip, narrated by India Fisher. The story brings us back to the 8th Doctor and Charlotte Pollard era. The 8th Doctor and Charlie go to a gallery to see the 10,000. But something's wrong and the statues are coming to life. You can download Doctor Who Short Trips Hall of the 10,000 from the Big Finish website for £2.99.
Apparently the writer for this was inspired by the terracotta soldiers. But I don't know if those are supposed to be the terracotta soldiers or if this was something else. They never specify in the summary.
It doesn't say for sure, but I would assume by the imagery that's not really meant to be the terracotta soldiers, just an inspiration from them.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. And it wasn't in our blur, but this was written by Jane Fenn.
All right.
Yeah, it's a new somebody that's not done Big Finish Doctor Who before. So
let's see how they write.
I think due to fan feedback, Big Finish has been making a point to hire more women for one-off writing contracts. Unfortunately, they don't seem to have many that are on the consistent staff.
If who they're hiring is women, as long as it's not the same three people writing everything. That's
the number one thing.
I've noticed that a lot of the time, so you'll see the same men names repeat over and over, or you'll see a lot of women do one story, and then another woman does one story without as many repeating ones. And you can argue whether that's good or bad, that's just an observation.
I just want to see new blood in Big Finish. That's all.
That's all I care about, is that they need new people in there to keep things interesting.
Because otherwise people start writing the same story repeatedly.
New people, new people with good quality to them. Yeah.
Yeah, because the problem is people. I've said this about people like Moffat. You read enough of their stuff, you get to know how they're thinking when they're writing.
And I think that's why we don't.
That actually holds true to just about anybody. I know. I read Agatha Christie. I know who did it just by reading the character profiles.
Halfway through the list of characters, that's the one.
Yeah. And it's just because people tend to write similarly, even when they're doing something different.
I think the butler did it.
Anyway, that is our news. Just those 3 articles.
Yeah.
I am going to move on to breaking the rumor mill at this point.
Because every once in a while it needs it.
Break it.
And what we're talking about is something that popped up on both my YouTube and my news feeds. And that is the fact that there is a rumor that David Tennant is going to appear alongside Jodie Whittaker in an episode of season 12, where she is predicted to chastise him for his, and I quote, toxic masculinity and make him repent his ways. I tracked down this rumor to somebody on YouTube who goes by the wonderful nickname of Dictor Van Doomcock. Yeah, that's really mature.
Yeah, To me, that sounds like something that would be in like a Kevin Smith movie.
It sounds to me like someone who's intentionally stirring the pot and trying to get the people who are pissed off at Jodie's casting.
It's obviously
to
either a
stay pissed
troll or
off.
a very big tongue-in-cheek name.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, I looked at this guy's YouTube volume of work, and he's mostly a review guy. But when he's not reviewing, he's very big on basically creating or spreading these unfounded rumors.
When I checked in on him, the one time I checked on him from a movie reviewing thing myself, I found that even his reviews were a little bit and questionable in spots, so I was just like not really interested. I just went back to the same people I always listen to, and he's only like been a guest in some of the things like 5 times out of like the couple of years I've been watching them now. So he's not left a good lasting impression on me either.
But the fact is that I'm looking at a lot of his stuff, and there's a lot of these rumors that he either treats as fact or that I'm looking at them and they're impossible. Like one I was talking about before the stream, he exaggerated the issues that Disneyland has had with the Star Wars or the Star Wars section by saying that Disneyland is empty. I've been to Disneyland.
I've listened to other people talk about this, and the Disneyland's not empty.
Mm.
No matter what time you go to Disneyland, there's going to be at least a 45-minute wait to get onto Space Mountain.
There's a Space Mountain in Land too.
What's that?
There's a Space Mountain in Disneyland too.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was only in World.
I will say if what I heard holds true, they have had seasonably low numbers, but they are by no means empty. The reason possibly for low numbers is because they were worried that they were going to get flooded for the new Star Wars thing, which they didn't.
But that is different than saying Disneyland is empty, which is what this guy said. And no. He's basically a person that melts down and just regurgitates or starts these horrible rumors about this. And apparently, he's of the haters of Series 11. Now, we reviewed 11 as it came out. It had its high points. It had its low points.
Yeah, it was a mediocre, but at least a high mediocre.
Mm-hmm. But, this is... and he's apparently one of these haters that I don't think you should believe anything he says about Doctor Who at this point, because he is also the same person that started the Chibnall sacked, Whittaker gone rumor 2 months ago, which was the last time we had to break the rumor mill.
Mm-hmm. So this is the second time we've had to break the rumor mill on something that he's decided to put out there on blast.
And in both cases, he has quoted an anonymous source within the BBC.
Which means he's either lying or they're lying to him.
Mm-hmm. So don't buy it. Don't listen to it. If David Tennant was in an episode, he would have been spotted on set.
Not only that, but I'm pretty sure even despite how many tight lips they try to keep around there, someone would have blurred out, "Oh my God, I've saw David Tennant in the hall." With a quick film picture or something.
I also think that's like one thing that the BBC would go, "No, fuck you, Chibnall. We are making this public."
Yeah, that's a possibility too.
There would be scenes of the two of them together, not doing a song, but in costume, in character, and the BBC would never let Chibnall run down David Tennant, because David Tennant is still their golden age.
Yeah.
Not only that, but they still probably want him to come back for a TV show one of these days, because he's been great for them.
But yeah, the way they've been going lately, if he's going to return in an episode, it would be the Christmas special.
Maybe.
Some sort of teasers for it if it were that big.
There would have been like at least one picture somewhere of him being full outfit if that was true.
Yeah.
And there's not.
Or they would have appeared together in like one of those YouTube clips, like subscribe to Doctor Who on
Yeah.
YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, they would have done something extra, and that would have been some of the possible evidence for it.
And, first of all, if Tennant and Whitaker show up in something together, she would initially run him down, and he would run her down because they're doctors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're doctors. They
That's
would
how that
be at
works.
each other's jaw lines the entire time until they do something really clever, and then in which case
Until they
they'll be
have
like,
to
"Oh,
buckle
we're
down,
not too
yeah.
bad."
As long as no one wrote Tennant to threaten somebody with a good smacked bottom.
Look at when Tennant and Smith showed up together, and they got under stress, and they started railing on each other.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was some of the best Moffat writing.
And then the War Doctor just told them both to shut up.
Yeah.
Because that's the best way a Doctor dynamic works. Look at the second and third Doctor.
Yes.
And both the three Doctors and the five Doctors. They were,
Oh, and then the little cameo from the first Doctor. Oh, you're my replacements, a dandy and a clown.
Yeah. The five
I will
doctors,
say,
the
though,
two doctors,
I do.
always.
I will say though, I would be up for Tennant coming back just because hell, it would be him interacting with an actor that he's actually worked with before outside of Doctor Who as well.
Yeah.
So it's someone he'd already
Yeah, I
know
would guarantee you they would
and
already
be
have good
comfortable
chemistry
with.
if they got to work together for at least a couple scenes.
It'd even be better if they were investigating something.
Oh yeah.
Just they could almost go into that whole mode for just a moment. So, it would be, I would love to see that kind of thing, but I don't think it's going to happen yet. We might see it in a year or two.
Yeah, not yet.
Tennant is kind of busy at the moment with his new baby.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, he's got a new one, did he?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. He and Georgia Tennant, I think they've got like 3 or 4 now.
I was going to say, this has got to be pretty close to 4 by this
They
point.
had at least 3 before.
Yeah.
So this is either 4 or 5.
Because I know Georgia had one from a relationship prior to Tennant.
Yes, and David officially adopted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I saw somebody saying something about one of them is his stepkid, and I was about to reply to that, and I never found the post again. But like, yeah, that's not a stepkid anymore.
It still is it still is.
Once you're officially adopted, you're officially the parent. You're not a step parent.
Alrighty.
Wasn't sure on that, but okay.
5 children.
5? Yikes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that one of them is from a previous relationship, and the other 4 are with David. So, yeah. They got married in 2011. So yeah,
Yes.
They've been busy.
Almost like every 2 to 3 years, yeah.
So yeah, they are.
Well, they know that's how long it takes for a doctor to regenerate. The plan is just to get them into show business, and then one after the other.
So every time they renew the doctor, they can
Keeping the role of the doctor in the family. I still say they're trying to create the Kwisatz Haderach of doctors.
There's been a little news article running around of a little video of the baby lying down and watching the TV, which is showing an episode of the Tennant era of Doctor Who. Already hooking them young. Yeah.
And thus the process begins.
Now the question is, are they also showing the baby 5th Doctor episodes, or is this going to be another one that says, oh yeah, my second favorite Doctor is number 11, and then I don't have a 3rd?
Oof.
Oh. Oh. Anyway, I think, having the kid probably means he's a little busy to be doing a Doctor Who special right now.
Quite possibly. At least for a few
Although,
months.
in terms of the two of them working together, I do just want to point out this funny comment I saw. It was on one of the articles about about what we talked about last week of it was a Children Need Special, right? That album
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. So somebody was saying they missed the opportunity to get a group of former doctors together to do a cover of the Who's or the Who.
The Who.
The Who or
That-
the Who are
Who's.
you?
See, this is how you know I don't
that-
listen to that genre of music. The Who.
That would be awesome if you got Tennant, Smith, Whitaker,
McGann.
anybody else who has a voice. And they basically just did an entire album that was a cover of Who songs. I would have.
Well,
I
they
would-
could bring
I
in
would have-
they could bring in Capaldi for guitar.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. And you realize I would freaking have to own that album.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
It'd be hanging on my freaking wall. As I would buy the album and then buy the digital version.
The Who's cover the Who.
It would be the most awesome thing ever. And I pray to the BBC to do this.
Pretty please with sugar on top, BBC. You know you want to. Take all our money, BBC.
But the question is, would it be called talking about regeneration or not?
Oh my god.
Talk about my regeneration.
Oh, that's so wrong. Oh god, that would be so wrong. All right. So we're moving on from the rumor mill now that we've debunked this piece of crap. And we're
Another
going to move
turd in the
into-
bucket of turds.
And we're going to move into our Geek Talk section, which we've got a couple of movies people want to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And I guess if we're going by release order, then I'll go first because the movie I saw came out last month.
You're also
Um,
first on the list, so
Yeah. So yeah, I finally saw the Joker yesterday. The Joker movie yesterday, and it's so weird because the longer it went, the more I'm just like, it's not bad, and it's like my ultimate consensus by the end was, this isn't a bad movie, but this doesn't feel like a good Joker movie.
I will
'Cause,
argue
like,
you to death on that one, actually.
Because there was so many points where I'm like, okay, come on, give me the Joker. Actually give me the Joker. And then there's like,
See, you don't want to blow that too soon, though. We're
Bits
getting to the development
here
of
and there.
him becoming that.
I guess,
Kinda.
although it's funny because apparently the director said, oh, well, I've made it ambiguous, so you don't know whether this is actually the Joker or some guy who the Joker is later inspired by. And I'm like, wait, what? That makes no sense.
They do that every
I-
time they do a Joker origin. They did the same time. Three times.
I don't know if
on
that's even a real thing or not. All I know is that they are very heavily looking at the possibility of making the sequel now.
Of course, it's funny because if they did decide to scrap a lot of the established canon for the DCEU, I mean, the next Wonder Woman is set in the 80s, so this would kind of slot in nicely since this is set
Just
in the
about,
70s.
yeah.
Um,
Now the question
means
is
they'd
when
have
are
to
they
do it
going
as
to
a
set the new
period
Batman?
piece, but- Well, yeah, that's funny. This works, and if you factor in Ben Affleck's Batman, this actually kind of works. But if you're not, then it doesn't really.
Well, the Ben Affleck Batman officially doesn't exist anymore. Weirdly
True,
enough.
that's what I mean. Like they'd have to. God, it's so weird. But like,
Yeah,
that's, I
the
guess,
continuity is royally balked right now. We have to
Yeah.
wait and see how things go.
Yeah, I mean, I basically am treating this as like its own thing. Although there are still elements of it that make me kind of go like, well, wait a minute.
I think
This
the
isn't
only
really-
movies they're making right now that give a shit about continuity are the all the movies with Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, because they're all
yeah.
clearly descended
That's
off
not
the
necessarily
Suicide
true either,
Squad line.
because they're going to be scrapping the original Suicide Squad for a new The Suicide Squad.
That's not what I heard. My
Oh.
understanding is both the upcoming movies are both Suicide Squad sequels.
No, The Suicide Squad is going to be a just restart on Suicide Squad.
So that's
Last I heard.
part of why they weren't recasting Will Smith.
That, and also why they're not bringing back Jared Leto.
I mean, let's face it. There's a reason they didn't bring back Jared Leto.
They are using they're using some of the cutscenes of Jared Leto in Birds of Prey.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I don't think any speaking scenes, but like his like seeing his face or his back or whatever.
Because I honestly thought they were done with him completely.
They are, the last I heard.
Yeah, it's just archived, like, because basically they completely rewrote Suicide Squad after the first round of filming, so they've got a ton of footage left over that I guess they're using bits of it for like the breakup subplot.
Well, the reason I'm mentioning this is because Leto's been a bit of a sore loser.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I heard
majorly
of that.
sore loser.
And I'm sure he's going to be even more pissed. If they use substantial footage of him that they have the rights for that he can't say no to, but.
Like, he's so pissed because he actually tried to convince his lawyers to fight for him to be the Joker for the Joker movie.
No, he didn't fight for him to be the Joker for the Joker movie.
He told them to fight for him, then they refused.
No, he wanted to get the movie tanked.
No, he wanted to be in it.
He was originally supposed to be in it in the very rough early drafts until the current directing staff got over and said, no, we're getting Joaquin Phoenix.
And then, after the Joaquin Phoenix, and after they officially said they're still going forward, then he tried to tank it. But I'm talking before even that. He was supposed to be in it. Then he had lawyers try to fight for him to be in it, and they all just told him, dude, you weren't well liked as the Joker. Let's just move on. And he's just like, oh, fuck you too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw a thing.
Even when he was in Suicide Squad, his whole method acting of sending like dead animals to his coworkers.
Yeah, that was a stretch too far.
He basically alienated his coworkers, alienated the directorial staff, and then raised the stink when they didn't want him back.
After making a hotly mediocre Joker.
Yeah, after making a Joker that was not in any way like the Joker. And I'm not talking about dress or looks. I'm talking about how he acted. He played the Joker as a straight man.
Nah.
You don't play the Joker as a straight man.
Even the Dark Knight Joker got better.
My thing is that his Joker was like internet troll Joker.
Yeah. That's not a Joker.
Of course, before the movie
that's just a dumb
came
child
out,
on the internet.
The joke is that he was like the wannabe gangster Joker or the hot topic Joker or all this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, holy crap, much better in this movie than he was. But at the same time, that's a very low bar to clear.
It's a low bar to clear, but I get the feeling that Joaquin Phoenix has it in him.
I put him on the same bar as I do Heath Ledger's Joker. And if you've ever heard me talk about it, I'm not fond of Heath Ledger's Joker. Mostly
but at least he had moments.
He had moments.
That's it. After this came out, I saw a headline. It said, "Sorry, Joaquin Phoenix, Heath Ledger is still the greatest Joker of all time."
And I was looking
at that like, what?
No, I'm sorry. Mark
go die in a fire. No, I get it. It was an iconic role, and I get that people really liked Heath Ledger's Joker, especially they liked it even more after the whole fact that he died as soon after and all that. But no, he was not a perfect Joker. Sorry, people. You need to get over it.
He was a better Zaz, really.
For me, the thing that worked for me about Heath Ledger's Joker was the fact that he didn't have a backstory. It was just, here's the Joker, ta-da, and that's it. And whereas
let me show you a magic trick.
Previous attempts and since, it's like, we had Jack Nicholson's Joker getting dropped into the acid stuff, and then we had this where he's just a guy who's mentally ill. And it's like, okay, I think that's also part of it for me. Is like, part of it is, I don't want the Joker's backstory. I wanted to give this movie a shot, so it's like, it's not like I was going in thinking, oh, this is going to be amazing, or oh, this is going to be shit. It was just like, the more I'm watching it, the more I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about
That's
the
part of
Joker's
the issue.
backstory, though.
That's part
But
of
you
why I
realize-
haven't seen it, and part of my issue with Gotham is that nobody wants to, don't give us the Joker. Stop trying to give us the Joker's origin.
Okay, I'm going to spoiler alert you guys to this because there's something you may have missed, Thomas,
Mm.
and that is the very ending of the movie, where it's kind of a reveal that the entire movie was the Joker talking about what's this to somebody
Yep.
in a mental center.
Yep.
So that may not
actually,
be true.
I've even walked this back since the last time I reviewed this. I've walked it back that I don't think that the troops start coming out around the cop chase. I think the troop only started after we reveal that he's at the mental asylum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like once a very specific things happens in the movie, I was pretty much like, okay, so now I basically have to question if any of this is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever the context is. And that was nice. There were some things where I'm like, okay, if this is real, then this is like, what? So it was a nice twist. And I do like, I'll put it this way, there are very specific, but yeah, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I would be more interested in the sequel that we're going to get, because I mean, come on.
Oh, I would also add that
this movie has made almost $1 billion.
I was just about to say
There's
that
no way
this
this
movie
doesn't
is
get a sequel.
on key to actually break $1 billion, which will be the first radar movie to do so.
Let's take a look.
Because as
Okay.
far as I know,
That's been the news, dude.
Okay. The budget for this movie was between $55 to $70 million.
Mm-hmm.
To date, it has made Warner Brothers $939.8 million.
Christ.
You know the last time I saw numbers like this? Deadpool.
Yeah, and it beat Deadpool already.
Well, also wasn't It Chapter 1 like the highest grossing rated R, or was that just horror specific?
No, it is below. That might have been a horror one, but it is below the Deadpool movies.
Oh yeah, it'd be below this now, but I
No,
remember
I said below the Deadpool
apparently.
movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the original Deadpool movie, budget of $58 million. So, budget of $58 million. So in the same range as Joker.
Mm-hmm.
It grossed $782.6 million. This is 939.8 and is still in theaters.
Yeah, it's still in theaters. I believe the trend of decreased viewings is at only 40% per week, and it actually hit number one twice in a row. It got lost number one, and then got number one back again.
I mean, I was surprised that my hometown still has so many showings of this per day, because my hometown is like...
Yeah, they're still showing because people... Here's the thing. People are going for multiple viewings. I've gone to see it twice. I've never seen movies twice. I saw it twice.
The original Deadpool was so good that Aaron and I saw it back to back.
Mm-hmm.
She literally walked out of the theater, went to the ticket booth, and bought tickets to the next showing. We saw this once, because we don't have the time like we used to.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I would see this again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't
This
think
is totally
I
worth
saw,
a second watch.
I don't think I caught everything the first time.
Yeah, you need a second, probably even a third watch just to clarify everything.
I mean, given the twist that happens at a point, it is one of those ones where once you watch it back with that in mind.
Suddenly everything has a new meaning because not everything is as it seems.
Everything
is clearly not as it seems.
Now, the thing is that this was never intended to have a sequel.
It wasn't.
Super Mario Bros.
It wasn't. However, apparently, while on set, Joaquin Phoenix and the director were frequently caught talking about a possibility for sequels.
Which is
I
which
do
is which is
remember-
weird because Joaquin Phoenix doesn't do sequels.
Yes, and and here's another weird one that I've found out about recently. Joaquin Phoenix was so enamored by the idea of a sequel that he actually convinced the director to bring on a photographer on set to take pictures of him so Joaquin Phoenix can make his own parody posters for the next sequel.
Jesus.
Yes.
The thing is, I really want them to revise the makeup a little bit because the diamonds on the eyes are.
I don't mind the diamonds on the eyes, but you could use
like-
a revising for the sequel when he comes back, when he obviously breaks out, because let's face it, he's going to.
And I do kind of hope they don't make it a big plot point, like, oh, I had to remove the diamonds because they killed somebody I
Yeah.
loved or some bullshit
Well,
like
no,
that.
no,
Like-
no, no. What I
that's
want to happen
overstretching.
in a sequel is I do want him to get the acid bath that has
Yeah,
been.
I want something to happen to him that permanently makes him the Joker.
Mhm.
Something needs to happen to him in the sequel.
Yeah.
And by the way, the apparently the talks between Joaquin Phoenix and the director is that the next movie would be a highly different film. There's going to be less cerebral, and they're going to go a different angle with it. But it'll still be a direct sequel.
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, like again, it's one of those things where, and it is one of those movies where I probably would have to watch it a couple more times to get like a concrete. Because again, this is like I saw it yesterday, so it's like I haven't had all that much time to process it. And there have been plenty of movies before where I'll come out of it the first time like, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any stretch. But it is just one of those things where there are certain moments where it's like, ooh, there's the Joker, yay. And then it's like, oh, you lost it again. And then like, it's one of those ones where
Well,
if he can
it's
go full on in the sequel, it'll be like, oh yay, that'll be
Yeah,
the movie.
the-
Like
he-
we get the Joker
I've-
for the whole movie.
I've said before he's kind of a proto Joker.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite have the charisma, confidence.
You
That
start
the
to see it
Joker-
shine through though when he gets on the talk show.
He gets bits and pieces
Yeah.
of it, but you don't see it. He doesn't have it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just remembered another factor about how much money this movie's made. They've not been really allowed to release in China yet.
Oof.
Yeah. The rumor out there, or at least from what I've heard, is the possibility is that they want China, before they would ever allow it to be released, they want a cutback on the cussing, and they want the cutback on the violence, and essentially make a PG-13 version.
That would ruin it.
That basically would ruin it, yes. But they want to
I
ruin
would
it
say
so
it
that
would
way they
never
can sell
happen,
it.
But companies are thirsty for that China money.
At the same time, apparently this movie's been doing gangbusters in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong is China now.
No, they
as
are
far as
fighting tooth and nail. China thinks it's a part of them, yeah, but
Well,
no.
no. What I mean is the legality wise, it was handed over from the UK to China. And
Yeah,
it
but
was
it's-
handed over to them to monitor it, not to control it.
Well, yeah, they still have.
It's legally part of the country, but it's not fully integrated. It's still
And in fact,
distinct
I've seen Joker posters
entity.
in Hong Kong. It's
Really?
becoming the thing, yes.
That's part of the conflict and all of the protests and everything. Is China is trying to make Hong Kong fully assimilated into China, and the
And
people
Hong
in
Kong ain't
are
having it.
saying,
They
"Fuck
are
you."
fighting tooth and nail to the point that they're getting murdered.
Well, yeah, I knew there was a lot of people in Hong Kong that did not want the turnover to happen.
Well, literally everybody who lives there doesn't want it to happen, except for a few crazy politicians, apparently.
No, I meant
Including Bruce Lee's relative
I meant the
Chin.
UK turnover.
Oh,
Because I know there was a lot of people that were in Hong Kong at the time in '99 going, no, we don't want this to happen. We want to stay part of the United Kingdom, and there's China on the other side of it, holding a watch, and
holding a watch and giving a very sinister smile. It's like, no. So, anyways, the fight rages on, but yeah, they haven't had Team China money for this yet. And they're almost about to reach that record.
Let's see. South Korea, it made money. United Kingdom, Mexico, Japan.
That made it sound like it's one big country. It's like United Kingdom of Mexico and Japan.
I was just that was part of a list of the largest markets for this movie thus far. China wasn't in it, so yeah, you're right. That hasn't had a
Mm-hmm.
China release. Although
Warner Brothers has not allowed an edited down version yet.
Yeah,
I mean, given what's going on there at the moment, and given what the lot of stuff in this movie, it's like, yeah, I could see them not wanting it released there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they want it, but they want it cut down.
Look what happened with South Park.
Mm-hmm. South Park's been banned. As a matter of fact, because there's images of the Joker poster with like riot flames and stuff, it might become that the fact that this movie might end up being banned anyways over there.
Yeah.
Because that's legitimately a thing too right now.
All right.
Well, that's true. Yeah, there's encouraging riots and everything else. So I could see them having a major problem with that right now.
Yep. Okay, so I think we've talked about the Joker movie enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next one.
So, Tim,
Yes,
you've apparently seen the next installment in the Terminator franchise.
Yes, I saw Terminator Dark Fate, despite the fact that I had also seen Terminator Genesis.
Well, of course, many of us saw Terminator Genesis because it had Matt Smith in it.
Yes.
Still have to see it yet.
And I have this theory that Terminator Genesis was made solely so people would be more lenient toward any other future films.
Actually, wouldn't that be Terminator 3?
Oh, God, that was a crap fest, Terminator 3.
I remember going to see it and being okay with it at first, and then as I continued to think about it, I'm just like, actually, you know what? I don't really care for this one.
So, I don't know how to say this, but this movie seems to be going with the idea that it is a direct sequel to Terminator 2, and we can forget about Terminator 3, 4, and 5.
Which generally is a good idea anyway.
So basically, they pulled a Halloween.
Pretty much.
Yep.
No.
Mind you, the difference here, and just to remind you, Tim, is this one actually has James Cameron working with it.
Very limitedly.
Well, he did the story behind this one, and he's a producer.
He's a producer, and he maybe gave a few pointers to the story, but that's about it. And he was a very distant producer. He's still busy with his Avatar stuff right now.
But Cameron had zero to do with Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genesis, nor did he have anything to do with the Sarah Connor Chronicles, all of which Cameron has now said is in alternate timelines.
All except for that, except for Sarah Connor Chronicles, he's also said we're all shit.
Well, I liked Salvation, okay? But yeah, 3
apparently he didn't like any of those movies.
Just the idea of when they made 3, it was like 2 ended so perfectly, like to rip the lid off that coffin and like go against what was already established in 2 is like just like a real kick in the nads.
Oh yeah, 3 is pretty much the antithesis of 2. Because the big theme in Judgment Day is there's no fate but what we make, that the future can be changed, and the big theme of 3 is that the future is inevitable.
Yeah. And in this movie, Dark Fate, James Cameron seems to have gone back to that because the fate of the original Terminators is indeed averted, and Skynet is no more in this film. But that doesn't mean that the future is all sunshine and lollipop.
Yeah, what is the new thing? Like Nemesis or Legion or something like that? I forget.
Yeah, there's a new computer program called Legion.
Which just so happened to make almost exactly the same Terminators again.
Yeah. It's like, I'm actually speaking Rigelian. By an astonishing coincidence, both our languages are exactly the same.
Slowly tilt head to the side.
Yeah, that's the one thing that bothers me. I have not seen this movie, but I've read summaries. Is the whole Legion thing is you give it the duck test, and if it looks like Skynet and it works like Skynet
And it terminates like Skynet.
it's Skynet.
Mm-hmm.
You can call it Legion or not, but it's Skynet.
Oh, look, it's Skynet 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you, movie.
I thought the character of Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800, his story arc was a unique twist. In this, I don't know how much I should give away without spoiling it. But
I've pretty much watched all the spoilers because I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what happens when a Terminator has fulfilled its duty and is left to its own devices? Like, does it just go stare at a wall for eternity, or does it find something to do with itself?
Apparently it goes and gets married.
Yes. Or it finds a new purpose to find. And there were some very telling moments in which there's a scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator is preparing to leave to go off to fight the battle, and he looks down and he picks up a pair of sunglasses, and then he decides to not put them on.
Boo.
Like that's what's wrong. Like that's what's wrong with the Terminator.
Yeah.
I think it would have been hilarious if the difference between Skynet and Legion was that Skynet was played by Matt Smith and Legion was played by or voiced by Peter Capaldi
or David Tennant.
Yeah.
Could you see the living incarnation of Legion being David Tennant a la Purple Man?
That'd be interesting. But to be honest, I think that's a mistake they made in Terminator Genesis, is that Skynet should not have a face.
No, it shouldn't. I don't even think it should have a voice.
A face or a voice.
At most, maybe a single screen with text. If you even go that far.
Well, it doesn't need a face or a voice. That's what it has the Terminators for.
Mm-hmm. It should be an otherwise faceless machine that just wants to annihilate everything. And and part of that machine's workings is the creation of Terminators.
And it was Dark Fate almost seemed like a Force Awakens reboot, a remake type of the first Terminator, in that a Terminator is sent back in time to kill a woman, and someone else connected is sent in time to protect her. But this time, the woman is not analogous to Sarah. The woman, whose character is named Danny. Danny Ramirez or
Ramos.
Ramos.
Yeah, I'm reading the cast and crew list.
And that instead of being the mother of the future leader of the Resistance, it turns out that Daniela just is the future leader of the Resistance.
Oh yeah, they were originally going to do the whole John Connor thing again, but Edward Furlong is way too fucked up to do that. I mean, he's basically He's had so many drug arrests now, and if you take a look at pictures of him, he's just basically a stoner.
Oh, like we haven't replaced him before.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's something that Cameron and the current crew didn't want to do, is replace actors.
So we
So
just
there's
kill
a
him?
brief scene at the beginning where, I think they do a CG Edward Furlong.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I hear from a lot of people, I mean a lot of people, that just immediately struck them the wrong way. It's like that's the worst way you can send a send off to that character.
Drop a bridge on him. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why? You just basically killed Shatner and Generations again. Thanks.
Well, from my point of view, they pretty much killed John Connor off in Terminator Genesis anyway. For all intents and purposes.
Well, that doesn't matter because that's not canon anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the problem with this entire franchise at this point, is that it's just been a long string of mediocre or not well received movies, to the point where it's just like, you know what? It's just the first two movies, and maybe if you're really interested in a TV show, and that's it.
I was gonna say I heard the show was pretty good.
The show was pretty good.
I've never had a chance to watch it. That's why I'm not going to include it. But I've heard from other people that it's really good too.
Mid-range at first season, and then got really good at second season, and then Fox canceled it.
As Fox does with anything that's good that takes only 2 seasons to get there.
Because it had been building that second season and gaining momentum, and then the very end ended on a cliffhanger where they wound up in the future. And we were all like sitting there going, all right, this season 3 is going to rock. Canceled.
Fuck you, Fox.
Having Dollhouse flashbacks.
Yeah, they basically wound up having to flee into the future, and they discovered that no one in the future had ever heard of John Connor. And then
that's because they messed with her timeline.
That was the end of season tag, the end of season stinger. And then like 2 days after that aired, we get the news that had been canceled. It's like, Jesus.
Fucked up. But then again, what do I expect from Fox and trying to actually plan good sci-fi anymore at that point?
And then Lena Headey went on to Game of Thrones.
I swear to God, I wish Netflix or somebody had picked it up. But Fox, they hold on to it forever.
Well,
and now it's been a decade, so you can't do it.
Well, since then, I believe from what I've seen, the rights have been passed
we're in the
on to
future
like
now.
3 different groups of people at this point. Since then, even. So yeah, it's just been a hot mess with the legal rights to Terminator. But they're no longer in Fox's hands. They haven't been for a while.
Yeah, well, even. I'm not sure that they had the rights. No, it was Warner Brothers that had the rights to it when that was Sarah Connor Chronicles. The problem was it still aired on Fox, and if something airs on Fox, Fox has rights to that show.
Yeah, which is why you're never going to see like a major reprint of the show, at least not for a while, until the rights lapse to whoever's owning it.
And once Fox gets its rights on a show, it holds them for years after it's been canceled. The only time they ever let something go was Family Guy, and that's because Seth MacFarlane pretty much had his foot on their balls, so to speak.
So that means now Disney has.
Technically, Disney has the rights to Terminator. Yes, Terminator: Dark Fate was actually started before they actually had the merger.
This was Paramount's baby, wasn't it?
It was both Paramount and 20th Century
itself.
Fox.
Yeah, I believe both actually were attached to it, now that I think of it.
This was Paramount's baby.
This was released by Paramount, but the production was started through Fox.
Yeah, 20th Century Fox was listed as a production company, as is a bunch of people. But and internationally, it's distributed by 20th Century Fox. But the thing is, this movie is not doing well.
No, this one's already bombing hard.
Very hard.
I
Its
think after
budget,
Genesis, the goodwill has been strained.
the budget was just shy of $200 million to make this movie.
Yeah.
Thus, and that does not include, budgeting for promotion and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which would have been a lot because this is a Terminator movie.
Thus far, it has not even made the initial budget. It's made 129.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to make at least another 200 million to break even, and people don't.
And they're already predicting it's gonna still be 100 million under.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it needs to gross between 450 to 480 to break even. And they're thinking Paramount and Skydance is going to lose 100 to 130 million dollars on it.
And Paramount just keeps picking all the wrong things to try and push. It feels like Paramount just keeps biting the dust lately.
It does. Paramount's been tanking hardcore.
And the thing is that it's been tanking while pushing things that people should have been already going, don't do it, while at the same time canceling things that people are saying do it too. Like they literally canceled a Friday the 13th movie when the Friday the 13th game came out and was doing huge numbers. It was literally a sign that they should have gone that way, and they're just like, nah, we did another horror movie and it bombed, even though it was a bad horror movie. It was another one of the freaking Ring movies.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna do well. The second one didn't do well, you idiots. But you know.
Plus, it's been that long that, like, who really cares at this point?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that Paramount's going to be under new management pretty soon.
Oh, it's definitely heading that way. They are doing terribly.
No, we know it is, because basically CBS is buying Viacom, which owns Paramount.
And to be honest, that doesn't normally mean everyone's going to be switched, but with the way things have been handled at Paramount lately, no, there needs to be a switch.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a shake-up.
Big one.
I'm pretty sure Jim Giannopoulos, who is the chairman and CEO of Paramount, is not going to be after the merger with CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Paramount is just dying. And
it could be doing so many things and doing them so much better, but they just keep denying it.
Almost all of their franchises that they've been making has been tanking, except for I think Paramount has its fingers in the Fast and Furious franchise, or no, the Mission Impossible franchise.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure about that. The Fast and the Mission Impossible sounds like it's possible, but it's been a while since they did one of those too.
It's been just a couple of years, but I mean, look at Paramount's major franchises in the last 10 years. You've had Star Trek, tanked. Transformers, tanked.
Reborn it and trying to kill it again.
There's not much coming out of Paramount that's been worth a damn.
They technically have the rights to Friday the 13th and then canceled it. Oh gosh, what else have they been doing that they completely bombed on? I keep forgetting how much they keep doing and either canceling or doing something else. Actually, they haven't really been focusing on franchising. They've been doing little art house movies, which will get you Oscars, but they won't get you money.
The last Mission Impossible movie, by the way, was last year. That was Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh, that's right. The one that reminds me of a franchise I used to love in video games.
They've been doing the Cloverfield stuff.
Oh, that's right. The Cloverfield movies. That's been a weird franchise at this point. It's all over the place.
They had the freaking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
2 movies and canceled.
Yep. There's not much coming out of here that I want to watch. I'm taking a look at, a lot of this. I'm looking at some of the stuff they did last year, like Sherlock Gnomes. No.
the sequel to the Gnome movies, yes. Oh, make yourself want to hate yourself more, Paramount.
They did the remake of Pet Sematary.
And I hear that was hotly mediocre.
I heard mixed reviews on that one.
Yeah.
I liked it, but
it,
to be
it
fair, I
wasn't
also
horrible,
hadn't
but
seen
the original was
compare
probably
it
better.
to.
They did the Ghost in the Shell movie, which was mediocre and bombed.
And controversial.
Controversial for people who didn't want to listen to their creator, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at,
Still,
what
I
they
think there's a fair few people that refuse to watch it.
Yeah. Whatever.
and of course there was the G.I. Joe franchise, which tanked.
Yep. That
That
tanked
went so
hard every
well.
time.
The only thing they had going for them in the last 10 years was the Iron Man stuff, which, Disney took out of their hands. Because,
Wasn't
Disney.
JJ Chuck pretty successful? Or is
It-
that not Paramount?
JJ Star Trek started
yeah.
good,
JJ
died
Chuck,
in the second
Right,
movie,
right.
and then didn't, and then
and
couldn't
even though
get
they had a
enough momentum
third good
for the third movie.
entry, it just wasn't enough numbers, so it bombed.
Yeah. The second movie tanked the third movie, which tanked the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
There is rumors of a Tarantino.
How did we get on that? Oh, we were talking. We started with the
The
Terminator.
Dark Fate.
Yeah, we were talking Paramount's bad choices of the last 10 years.
There's
And
plenty of
Terminator
them.
Dark Fate seems to be the latest entry in that.
Yep. From what I've heard of Dark Fate here is that the acting has been really good, and in which case, yes, as Tim was mentioning, Arnold does a really good job in this.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently the
didn't think
plot is
exi-
just so pathetically weak that's just like, ugh, whatever.
I mean, you've got Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor
Yeah.
after,
How many years away?
mm-hmm, after since Judgment Day, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a T-800, which is what he does. And then you've got a whole bunch of new people who I guess were doing good acting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard even the new people were doing good for their acting, but it's just that they were given such horrible and even at times cliched roles in this movie that's just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a rehash.
Yeah, it's basically a rehash of 3, and it still didn't do it much better in certain spots.
Well, funnily enough, for this podcast, I've seen at least 2 different posts about this movie where people use the phrase wibbly wobbly, timey wimey to describe shit that happened in the movie.
Well, by this point, the Terminator timeline is so fucked up anyway.
I was gonna say, is there any timeline that is more fucked up in a science fiction franchise than the Terminator?
That is one thing I liked about Terminator Genesis, is the fact that it actually lampshaded the fact that its timeline is completely fucked up.
And this is an attempt to self-correct, but yeah, apparently they just didn't make the numbers, so they decided, no, we're going to make a trilogy on that, but no, it's canceled. I'm trying to think. Is there any other movie franchise that has a more fucked up timeline?
Well, I mean, there's some horror franchises that have weird splintered timelines.
Star Trek is getting close. Once you factor in Discovery.
Yeah, I will say
Yeah.
that there are some confusing points in Friday the 13th in particular, for popular horror franchise I can think of off the top of my head, where things go sideways and is skewed.
Although while we're talking about shows that involve fucking with the timeline, that might be a good segue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of fucking with timelines.
All right. So we are to the summary for tonight's episode. And I'm praying to God that talking about Terminator didn't erase this from my brain.
All right. So I have the stopwatch. Are you ready?
Give me a moment. Okay, I think I can do this.
All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Well, following the events of the Doctor meeting Martha Jones, he decides to take her on a trip through time. Decides to take her to the past and to show her the world of London circa the age of William Shakespeare. The two go and visit the Globe Theatre and see a performance of Love's Labour Lost, at which point they see the man William Shakespeare, who abruptly announces that Love's Labour won the legendary Lost sequel to Love's Labor Lost would be ran tomorrow. Well, of course, this intrigues them because, of course, no one's really heard of Love's Labor 1. So they go to see the man, Shakespeare himself, and that's when weird things start happening. First of all, Shakespeare becomes enamored with Martha Jones. Then somebody shows up from the Queen's office saying, "Have I approved this script? No, it's not done yet. Fine, the play is canceled." And he runs off and is promptly killed by drowning while walking down the street without rain. The doctor realizes this and basically says this is functionally witchcraft. And then later on, that night, the doctor is trying to figure out what's going on. And then the innkeeper, or the, what would you call her? Scullery maid? I'm not sure the correct term there. Shows up.
The tavern keeper or something. I don't know. The owner of the building, it would seem.
It's not the owner. It's more like the
or like
a worker there. Yeah.
the lead worker or something. Yeah.
She shows up. Basically discovers the fact that somebody's messing with William Shakespeare, having him write this, and she's immediately killed. And as the doctor and Martha come in to investigate, Martha sees basically what looks to be a witch fly off on a broomstick.
A witch.
After talking a bit about this with Shakespeare, the fact that the Globe Theater has 14 sides comes up, and this is of interest to the doctor, who goes to see the architect, who apparently went insane after finishing the designs for the theater and is in Bedlam. They go in, the doctor talks to him, and his description of the fact that witches made him design the theater the way it is interrupted by, in fact, a old hag witch who kills him with a touch. After talking with the doctor identifies her as a Carrionite and causes her to vanish back to where she came from. This does not stop the three witches that are running this, as they have basically written the end of Love's Labor 1 to release their kin from their bondage in what they refer to as the Dark Place. Part of this is seen when two people are rehearsing it and accidentally summons one of these Carrionites, who fortunately is not stable enough to continue and quickly vanishes. However, that is a sign as things to come, as the doctor realizes the play has to be stopped. He has Shakespeare go to attempt to stop the play while he goes to confront the Carrionites, who knock Martha unconscious and nearly kills the doctor. Fortunately, they're not aware that he has two hearts and only manages to take out one. Martha basically performs CPR, giving the doctor the use of his heart back, and they run to stop the play. As Shakespeare attempts to do so, we're basically stopped. They get there, unfortunately, after the final lines have been said, and the Carrionites are basically swarming around the theater. The doctor and Martha wake Shakespeare up, get him on stage, and between them and the words of J.K. Rowling, manages to once again trap the Carrionites back in their dark dimension, whatever you want to call it, and basically history is saved. The Love's Labor 1 is lost in the pulling of the Carrionites back into their realm, and after a little bit, Shakespeare and the doctor part ways after Queen Elizabeth shows up, declares the doctor to be her mortal enemy, and basically screams off with his head. The end.
Ooh, right on the dot.
Really?
You got it in 4 minutes, 58 seconds exactly.
Nice. All right.
Kudos.
So what did we like about this episode? And I forgot to pull up who's going first. Oh, shame. Shame on me, Randy.
Shame.
Let's see. That would be Matt first.
Ah. What I liked about this one. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Carrion Knight's makeup effects. Very
Mhm.
obvious and very upfront. They went for the classic witch, but they didn't like um beat you over the head with it and go too
Yeah, they didn't overdo
comical
it.
with it. They just added the prosthetic features and just kept it there. I think there was a little bit of makeup and maybe a cross between that and some lighting that maybe occasionally gave them a green tint, but they didn't go crazy.
Mm.
They just gave you enough to make it go, that's not normal human.
Yeah, that was the thing, is it was enough to go, that's not human. And if you
They
looked
didn't,
at
they didn't need lime green skin like some witches do.
Mhm. They just went
Besides,
with mostly the exaggerated features, some exaggerated wrinkles, and some crazy teeth.
people see green
Hmm.
skin these days, they think something else.
Mm.
Hulk smash.
Ah,
I was gonna go. They go with lepers,
All right,
baby zombies.
Thomas, what about you?
um. Uh. I'm just gonna go with Martha, I guess, because you know, it's
did you
like
say Mothra?
no,
Yes. I did like Mothra's appearance in this episode. Like it's
a
a
strange
very
guest
it's a
appearance.
cameo.
Mothra makes the ultimate Doctor Who companion.
uh. Um.
I was amazed they
Coming-
could squeeze the twins in.
Coming soon to a theater near you, the Daleks versus Mothra.
mm.
Mothra saved the galaxy.
Most lopsided fight ever.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
Anyway,
Yeah,
All I-
like
all I
generally, I just feel she was handled well in this.
God damn it. God damn it, guys.
Did we break your
All-
hamster, Randy?
All I can think of is my brain is writing the plot now, god damn it.
Mothra versus the Daleks.
The Daleks invade Japan, and in desperation they call on those two little things to summon Mothra.
The two fairies, yeah.
Yes. It's God.
Now all you can see is this Mothra grabbing a UFO out of the sky and smashing it into an army. Army of
I'm
Daleks.
seeing the entire thing done by Toho.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
And there's
seeing-
just an
which-
army of little model Daleks, and you see the little laser beams trying to hit Mothra.
So are you seeing the which Mothra are you seeing? The original, the Heisei, or the new one?
The original. Because that's the one
Original
that's
Fluffy.
in my brain. Plus, I'm also looking at it with old school BBC graphics, so I'm not seeing the modern Daleks. I'm seeing the old
70s
old-
Daleks.
the old 60s Dalek spaceship from like Invasion of Earth. And
The color movie, yeah.
No, from the old original
You're
black
going
and
with the
white
serial, okay.
hmm The one that was done on a shoestring budget. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's out of my system now. It's out of my system. Okay. So yeah, Martha was pretty good in this. Bill, how about you? What did you like about the?
So definitely what I was planning to say was taken, because I definitely thought it was a very good first time travel episode for Martha. I think I'm going to say the writing for the Carrionites. It was fairly clever. It was they did some good wordplay. They didn't beat you over the head to the point where it felt like Dr. Seuss, but at the same time they were able to keep up the rhyming shtick and do other things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they did just enough of it that you can get the hint, but you didn't feel like they went overboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, how about you?
I just love the character of William Shakespeare
God damn it!
in this, it was like this episode wasn't about the Shakespeare the man, but Shakespeare the myth, and just like his interplay with the Doctor and like how he just accepts what he sees, without much question or needing of convincing, and how by the end he figures out that the Doctor is a time traveler. That's
The fact
just
that they're not
brilliant.
very subtle about it. Well, you've written about witches. No, not yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if he ever realized, like when he did recognize that one line, he's like, hey, that one's mine. Did he realize, oh shit, all those other lines were mine from the future?
I'm wondering if that was part of it. What was the one he did
That's
once
maybe a
more into the
possibility
breach?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, rage against the dying of the light. I like that. Can't use it at someone else's.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be for 300 years, but that would definitely break history.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one, but it's not yours. Sorry.
Yeah, I was the same way. I really liked the fact that they kept the whole line dialogue between mostly Tennant and Shakespeare. Just oh yeah, you can use that one. I thought that was just great writing.
I also found it amusing he was constantly hitting on Martha, like as
Yes.
sweetly as he could.
Not even that sweetly sometimes.
Well, he was being blatant, but he was using old English terms and trying to use it as kindly as possible.
Yeah.
It got to so extreme at one point that even the Doctor just goes, political correctness got mad. Anyway.
Flirt later, move now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really fond of that kind of dialogue between Shakespeare and them on all that. I just thought the character was done really well because he wasn't, the stuffy person you expected Shakespeare to be from, all the old statements. They didn't have him in the collared neck,
At least not until the very, very end.
not until the very end. And he was just kind of a down-to-earth guy. That just, he was a down-to-earth guy, but he was still smart and, quick with words. And
mm-hmm. And he just wanted to have fun, and that's kind of all people really want most of the
also,
time.
the
anyway.
actor was very good at acting when he was puppeted.
Oh, that too, yeah. Yeah, he just did this really good kind of half-glazed eye look and just kind of started miming like he didn't know what he was writing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about what we disliked.
Back
Matt.
to me. I have to say that as much as I like the physical effects for the Carrions, the digital ones left me much desired.
Oh, the CGI ones, Carrionites?
Yeah. I understand that from the look of them, they were trying to go for like some sort of medieval painterly look to them, but it just did not work.
You're saying like the half-emerged ones?
Yeah, the half-emerged ones, but they also appeared in the fully emerged dust cloud later as well, so it's just like, ugh.
It's kind of funny because the one where it shows like one of them appearing before those two actors, I was thinking, like, to me it was like, that looks like a kind of like rejected Dark Crystal Muppet or something.
Yeah, again, they were kind of going for like a medieval painterly look, and it just doesn't work for them. They were better off having physical actors.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that it's just like, I don't quite buy it. It's not quite as bad as the creatures from Father's Day.
No, yeah, those were a little bit more easy to see through even than this, but that was still kind of meh.
All right. Thomas, what about you? What did you dislike about the episode? Keep wanting to say cereal, but it's not a cereal.
Honestly, something that just kept bugging me the longer I was watching the episode was like, okay, so these other two women are in the full makeup and all that the whole time, but this one, when she's not out in public, still has the human facade on. It's like, why couldn't they just have her be like, look like the other two
They ran
every
out of
time they're
money.
alone.
Either the effect for her wasn't that good, or they were just kind of posing the thought of maybe she just pretended to be human all the time, just in case. Because you
It's
never know when
also
someone's gonna walk in on
possible.
them.
I also have a suspicion that some producer was like, "Yeah, we need a more pretty girl presence on screen."
Unlikely, but possible.
Yeah, this isn't John Nathan Turner we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They weren't
And
trying
it-
to make this for the dads.
Mm.
And
'Cause,
you
I mean,
know,
like, the actress looks like she's having fun the, like, one scene she really gets in the makeup. It's like,
Well, the
so
couple
why
scenes, she
not
gets like
just
2 or
let
3
her-
of them, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it's very sparse. I mean, like, she's obviously not going to be makeup out in public.
Mhm.
But, when it's them three alone in that room, thinking, you couldn't have just shot these all on the same day so you didn't have to do the makeup like a billion
Mhm.
times.
Right. I do think what makes it a little more believable is I think she's the only one who routinely goes out in public with it,
Yeah.
unless they're killing somebody. So it
Mhm.
kind of makes sense she'd be the one that's has that illusion up the most often.
she's bait.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
bait.
she
The
needs
other
to
two are
keep face
switch.
because she's bait to bring people in for victims.
Yep.
Pretty much literally, she kind of reenacts the Buffy opening from the first episode.
Yeah, it actually, when you think about it, it is kind of, you look at it, it is kind of like vampire game faces, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. The prosthetic makeup is just like the vampires showing their game faces. Yeah. All right, so Bill, what did you dislike about the episode?
So should I talk about the elephant in the room? I guess I will. After the criticisms of Series 2, we immediately jump into Martha is smitten with the doctor for no particularly obvious reason.
Mm.
And just like staring at him like a puppy dog, and then getting pissed off when she realizes that he knows another girl, and she's known him all of what, 6 hours or at this point?
Something like
that.
that.
Yeah.
By the end of this, she's known him for a little more than a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Mind you, this is the doctor, so it is kind of an amazing guy, but still.
Yeah, but
I mean, in those 6 hours, what has he done? He's basically saved her from a hospital that's been transported to the moon, and showed that he basically has a time machine. I mean, that's, four kinds of amazing.
mhm.
I mean, yeah,
And
but
then he
like,
takes her to see
even
Shakespeare.
Rose didn't really get like lovesick crap until Tennant showed up. So
Right.
It's still one of
he
these
was
things
with her
that
for a while.
it's one of these problems that Martha's characterization had, is the fact that she's basically replacement Rose.
Yeah.
And I'm talking from the writer's standpoint, she's replacement Rose.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff that they had for Rose to do is now Martha's. And that includes mooning over the doctor.
Yeah. It's very like I'm pretty sure like the joke will have been done to death, but it's a kind of she's the rebound companion.
Oh yeah, to death.
Actually, that's kind of her purpose, because that's why she leaves, is because she's sick of being the rebound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we get the friend companion finally after this, and it's like, oh, thank God.
Thank God, a fresh breath of fresh air, and she's screaming at us, and we still like her.
That said, of all the episodes for Catherine Tate not to be in, I mean, they had no idea at this time, but I imagine if she had the clue she was going to be in Doctor Who and realized she was not in this particular serial, she'd be kicking herself.
Yeah, they made it up by showing her Agatha Christie, but still.
Right. Now that I say that, I think it was a possibility, but oh no, that's right. They had only ever planned her as a one-off. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, yeah.
Okay, so Tim, how about you? What did you dislike about the episode?
I'm gonna have to go against the grain here and say I did not particularly care for the Carrion Knight makeup.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of surprised, but it just didn't. It seemed a bit too forced and faked that these Carrion Knights just happen to look like traditional medieval Satan worshipping witches, which is
Well, actually,
uh,
what they were trying to imply was the fact that the mankind's mental image of witches were based on the Carianites.
Which I feel Doctor
Yeah.
Who has done a few times.
This is actually
Yeah.
with demons. And also what
Seems
Killer
to-
Clowns from Outer Space was trying to do with clowns.
Vampires. That's
And vampires.
That's kind of,
And vampires, yes.
Carianites were just the great vampires with a witch theme, really, if you think
Yeah.
about it.
Pretty much. It's not the first time in Doctor Who.
Just the makeup effect itself didn't seem quite right, look right to me, to my eye, but that's just a matter of opinion.
Yeah, it was good enough for me. Although I will say, I think one or two close-ups did reveal that it was a little too clean around the eyes.
Yeah, it was a little too latexy a couple of times that you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So me, what did I dislike about the serial?
Yes.
That
Episode.
wasn't already episode. Thank you. That hasn't already come up. I mean, I've got nitpicks, but I've got nothing solid, to be honest.
So nitpick then?
Oh, a nitpick, the model they used for the Globe Theater was of the replacement Globe Theater and not the actual Globe Theater that would have been around at that time.
Oof. Oops.
Blasphemy!
Yeah, that's a big oops.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you know the history of the Globe Theater, but the original Globe Theater burned down
Mm-hmm.
and was replaced. Oh, I forget when. But the let's see, because the original Globe Theater was built in 1599 and
Yeah, that
was
ain't gonna
burned
stand
down.
forever.
Was burned down in 1613.
Okay.
And then the second Globe Theater was built in 1614 on the same site. And then closed in 1642. The time that this was supposed to happen would have been between 1599 and 1613. And the model used was of the 1614 to 1642 one, which is what the modern reconstruction of the globe is based on.
Oops.
Yeah. It was just one of those things that, if you know the history, you know what was going on.
Historical construction dudes, you had one job.
Okay, favorite scene, Matt.
Favorite scene. I'm gonna go. Oh gosh, I'm trying to slim it down. I've got like 3 of them bouncing around right now. Oh god. You know what? I'm just gonna go with the opening scene. You're not sure what's going on, except that it seems to be medieval. You got this guy playing the lute and singing up to a window. You got this.
Basically singing a love sonnet.
And you got this cute gal who's obviously having it. She's like, "Okay, you want some?" He's like, "Yeah," and she's just like, "Well, come on up." And he's, "Yay!" and runs off of his lute. And sure enough, she lures him into the bedroom, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, what the fuck? And before he has enough time to fully react to it, she pulls him in for a kiss, and then all of a sudden the other two join her, and they just rip the poor guy apart.
And I just realized the part of that scene that I didn't like was probably intentional because it's the Shakespeare episode.
Oh?
She does a fourth wall break at the end of that scene.
Oh,
but
that's right,
That's
yeah.
a Shakespearean thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was very much a fourth wall break, and probably on purpose. It's a stage show now.
Yeah.
We have stage show to murder for you to open our show tonight. I hope you enjoys it.
All right. Thomas, your favorite scene?
It's kind of funny because I think at one point that was one of what Matt went with was one of my backups just for the line that she said where it's like a kind of sex joke without directly being a sex joke, so they get away with it to her.
Getting crap past the radar.
Yeah, I was surprised the whole do you want to come consummate? And I'm like, they were allowed to say that?
Yup.
But yeah, I think I will go with essentially just the climax where William Shakespeare gets to be the one who saves the day, essentially, because it's like, oh yay, a story where someone else does, and not in like a, oh, I'm going to sacrifice myself to do this. It's just the doctor being like, hey, you can do it. Believe in yourself or whatever. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah, he just needed like some one more extra punch liners from the other two, and it's just like, sure, I can do this.
All right. Bill, favorite scene?
All right, so I am going down. I'm a little surprised this wasn't taken already. The doctor. What? My sworn enemy. What? Off with his head.
I was leaving it for somebody else.
Ah.
That was one of the three.
I mean, it's a classic by this point, but you know, it's especially as I mean, it's a new companion entry, so it's a soft reboot, even if it's a very, very, very soft reboot, considering that Rose's fingerprints are all over it. But it's enough, you know, it's for anybody who's still really unclear as to what sort of time travel we're dealing with. This pins it right on the head.
At the same time,
it's funny.
I don't blame this, but that was what inspired, you know, the appearance of Queen Elizabeth in
Yeah,
Day of the Doctor. And you realize
that and the line later about shagging her when he's talking to the Ood.
Yep. And you kind of realize that they don't mesh up. She's calling the Doctor her sworn enemy in this.
Oh, nothing like a sworn enemy like an ex.
Yeah.
Like an ex scorned.
Who ghosted her? He didn't even...
Yeah, he literally ghosted her.
He didn't even break up with her proper.
I'm sure after a decade or so, she's probably going to be royally pissed.
And yet she still made him the curator of the Undergallery.
She probably forgot about that and just decided on the heat of the moment after seeing him again that she was royally pissed off.
Also, the fact that she was a lot older and here he was the same damn age.
Yeah, I can't imagine that makes anybody feel better.
All right. Tim, your favorite scene?
Oh, I was just gaga over this scene where the Doctor references Back to the Future to explain to Martha.
God, yes!
It's like Back to the Future, the movie. No, the novelization.
No, the novelization. Of course, it's a movie.
I love the fact that he has to do that. It's just...
Yeah.
And of course, now you say that, and even rewatching it, I watched it and I cut to the scene of Ant-Man and Tony Stark talking about time travel. You're like, why do you think that bullshit is true? I watched Back to the Future. You're a fucking idiot.
You know, you kind of want David Tennant to just walk in the room and hit Tony Stark over the head and walk out.
That's not true, except it is! Especially if you fuck up getting it back.
So, I think the scene I like is where the Doctor confronts the bait Carrionite, just because he has that Tennant look on his face. You know, the dark eyes, game face look. And I always like Tennant when he's in that mode, because it's
the stern rage of a Time Lord. Yes.
Yeah, the badass Tennant mode. So I liked that scene. All right, least favorite scenes, Matt.
Least favorite. Oh gosh, I'm trying to decide which one I want to go with. I'm going to go with again, the effects were just not up to par, and the fake Carrionites just swarming around in the red fog. It's just like, well, this is supposed to be spooky, but it's not really giving me spooky. It just looks like, even for its time, it looks like mediocre effects.
Okay, I see that.
Matter of fact, even the clouds coming out of the top of the Globe Theater looked really fake.
Those didn't bother me so much, but yeah, the Carronites are like, what is this, Rankin Bass?
Rankin Bass could done better with claymation.
I don't think of Rankin Bass when I think claymation. I think, The Hobbit. Anyway.
Well, they did all the Christmas specials, but yeah.
Honestly, just because I just hate the whole rebounding off Rose crap, I'm just gonna go, like, as kind of funny in a way as some of the dialogue is, I'm probably just gonna go with, like, him and Martha sharing a bed. And Martha's very, very obviously like, hey, there's only one bed.
That was starting to border on cringy when I was watching it. It was just like,
oh. It's like, oh wow, there's a Doctor Who porn parody setup.
Let's not go back to Dr. Woe.
But yeah, it's still just like very much, wow, it's almost as if I'm, it's like I'm missing something that's staring me in the face. It's like, wow, I couldn't have any more on the nose dialogue.
Right. And they keep repeating lines like that throughout this season too.
Yeah, it's an ongoing hit you over the head with the, oh God, I'm in love with this guy and he's in love with Rose. And it annoys me, of course, because really the rest of Tennant's run is all about Rose, if you think about it.
Periodically. Yeah. At least during the next season, he can forget about her for the most part until the very end.
Although, of course, you've got the running gag, no, we're not married gag going on with her and Donna, or with him and Donna.
Which is fine, because they're best friends on a trip. No, we're not married.
All right, Bill, how about you? Least favorite scene?
So I'm going to go with the scene when the official from the theater is all, Love's Labor 1 will never be aired. And I'm like, okay, I understand you're pissed off. He's being an asshole. He didn't give you warning of this. But it's like, this sounds really personal, which is really weird because you've clearly approved all of his plays thus far. And unless you're going to give us some more backstory about it, you're taking this really to an extreme.
And very suddenly.
And then instead of giving us more backstory of their relationship, they kill him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there was supposed to be some more build-up before that got on the cutting room floor. But yeah, it just seemed to be there was a built-in hostility there that.
Or maybe it didn't even make it to cutting room floor. They suddenly realized they're pinched for time and had to cut it in the plot.
All right.
That, or someone was like, "Hey, in the real theater, they wouldn't have just said, yeah, sure, do it tomorrow.' Like, okay, I'll write in a scene, an unnecessary conflict scene."
That too.
Mhm.
Or,
Given
you
the
know,
reverse
you
would
could have
be more time.
compromised. Look, I can give you the rest of this and give you the final scene tomorrow.
Mhm.
You know, there was nothing. There was just uptight. There was some
Yeah.
hostility there that we don't have explained.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
All right, Tim, how about you? Your least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene, probably the scene where the hotel wench person gets killed. It seemed sort of like just like a tacked on thing to make the villains even more of a threat. Like they'd already killed the theater guy, so like, why did this second person have to die? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Or at least in that specific way, because it's like you do realize you just let, like, she dies so noisily when you could have, like,
Mhm.
tried to kill her quietly.
Oh, there's even the fact that it sounded like they were just gonna like temporarily stun her and make her forget, but instead she died of fright, and it's just like, oh, well, that didn't go well, did it?
Mm.
You know, yeah, that's like they couldn't do subtle.
Mm.
And, you know, that's a problem if you're trying to do this stuff behind the scenes, is you got to be subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not subtle at all, no.
Mm.
All right, whose least favorite scene was that?
Mine.
Tim's.
I think you're.
Tim.
I think you're last.
Okay,
yeah.
so my least favorite scene is actually the same as Thomas's, but at a different point. And not a point you would think with me being a Harry Potter fan.
Mm.
And that is when the two of them get in the topic of book 7. And this bothers me, not for that, but because it breaks Doctor Who canon. Okay. So what we know about Doctor Who is that for the run of at least the Russell T Davies era, it was running ahead of real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About a year. So in theory, Martha would have been from 2008. Correct?
I
Correct.
suppose.
Mm.
Considering the fact that these were being aired in 2007. In fact, this particular episode came out in April 2007. Book 7 came out in July 2007, meaning from Martha's term, it would have been out by 6 months. Now, originally I thought, well, maybe that restarted at the beginning of season 3, but it can't because of the development of what's going on with Torchwood and the fact that we meet up with Captain Jack at the end of that. And they can't travel earlier because you've got the whole Saxon development going on in the meantime. So therefore, this has to happen the year after the end of Series 2, which happened in 2007. So this must be happening in 2008, which means Book 7 would have been out for 6 months as of the time that he met Martha Jones. And the only reason they were bringing it up was the fact that the Book 7 was on everybody's mind at the time because it was coming out shortly. It's another fact of Russell T and the group didn't think about it ahead of time.
I'm wondering, like, there's enough of a margin there, unless there's a lot of very specific date points. This could theoretically be set in like May or June of 2007, depending on when the end of Series 2 is actually set.
The end of series, well, like I said, we know the fact that Series 1 starts in 2005 and then skips.
Right. No, I get that, but I mean, like, so between the end of Series 2 and the beginning of Series 3, in our world, there was several months gap, but in the on-screen world, there might not have been.
No, there can't be. Again, I take you to the development of Torchwood.
Mm-hmm.
We know from pretty much the Christmas special for following Series 2 onwards that we're dealing with the rise of Saxon. Because remember the Christmas special, before he met Martha Jones, Saxon was already a political figure. And it builds up during the course of Series 3 as they approach the election.
But I mean, Saxon was also retconned into being in the part of series 1 and in series 2. So
Where?
that doesn't. Didn't they say he was the one who fired the laser that destroyed the Sycorax?
No, he was the one that
No.
fired the shot that killed the Christmas star, which was the Christmas special between series 2 and 3.
Okay, so it's still series 2. Well, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Before Martha.
Because that
Just
was
before
orders from
Martha.
Saxon. Yeah.
Wrong special.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So
pre-Martha.
you're saying
but
it has to be after Christmas, is what you're saying?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
because that's apparently what drives him into the stardom to get into the election for president, which is or prime minister, which is the recurring theme for series 3.
Yep.
So, and the fact that, by the time of the end of series 3, when they're dealing with Prime Minister Saxon, Torchwood has already been developed, which means that had to be going on between the end of series 2 and now, which means this is still happening. Future of that, which means it has to be happening in 2008.
So basically, they forgot what timeline they're in and fucked up.
Basically, the writers forgot that they were supposed to be a year ahead of time. And again, you wait till you read book 7. And the other part of me hates that because I hate book 7.
But it's true that there's reasons to cry in book 7.
Just not for the reasons you
Because
think.
of how bad it is, yes.
Well, there are definitely can we spoil book 7 at this point?
It's over 10 years old.
It's over 10
Bill.
years old. Go for it.
If you cared about Hedwig or the Weasleys or some of the other
Or Remus
characters.
Lupin or Nymphadora Tonks, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or apparently the half a dozen other people that were killed in the Battle of Hogwarts.
Considering that now every time I pick up a book and a pet dies, I find myself crying in public. If I read book 7 now, I would probably start crying.
But yeah, it's just I kind of hate the fact that they kind of lost their timing in there.
Massively so.
Yeah. Just as basically a giant advert for
Hey,
Harry Potter
book 7's coming.
Yeah. It seemed a bit of a sellout to me, so that's why I don't like it.
The Ugly Barnacle.
Product placement.
Product placement. Taco Bell, product placement, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
All right, so final thoughts, guys. Matt, you're first.
I think the story was really good and a lot of the acting was done well, and I still enjoyed the practical effects. The visual effects seem to be where it falls apart, and there's also a few little inconsistencies here and there, but nothing that really jarred me that much. The thing, the stuff with the Martha wants to have a romance stuff feels extremely forced, and I forgot how
And I'm
forced
pretty
it felt.
sure that was tacked in by Russell.
Quite possibly, and it's just like that was unnecessary, and thankfully it's easily forgotten as it mostly it gets overwhelming in only one scene. Thank goodness.
All right. Thomas?
I kind of have just mixed feelings on this. I actually remember, as I was back today, I just remember thinking, and in hindsight, I probably should have had this as my dislike thing, but overall, but it occurred to me that some of this would actually play out a bit more interesting if the Carrionites weren't revealed from the friggin' first minute, and if there was actually some mystery to them. And it's like, whoa, all this random shit is happening, what the fuck? And then it's like, at the asylum, that suddenly, oh shit, this is what's going on.
If they had done
if
they had done the first scene as is, except they never revealed him going they revealed him going into the house, and then there was a pause and you just heard him scream. So you knew something was up, but you didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Would you have thought that would have been decent at least?
Yeah, I could do with that because again, you could for all we know, something happened to her as well. It was like some outside whatever. But yeah, the fact that we see them involved with I feel like they overdo it with them. Whereas if they weren't showing up as much, it might have worked a bit better. But either way, I don't think this is necessarily like a bad episode, but I think it's just kind of middle of the road. And the only thing that really drags it in bits is just the Dr. Martha, she's pining for a guy she's not gonna get kind of stuff, and it's just like, eh. Thankfully, it's not a huge thing throughout, whereas it will be eventually. But yeah, I feel like this is one where, like, if you want to see like Doctor Who do a take on Shakespeare, you know, this is not that bad of a take of that. But yeah, otherwise, if you're not interested in that, you could probably skip this.
All right. Bill?
So this episode is kind of the Doctor Strange of modern Doctor Who, by which I mean is it kind of accepts a little bit more of the non-scientific stuff in a different way than we had seen before. And the big mystery is, oh, how is magic real? And the big answer is kind of, yeah, it is. Even though the Doctor tries to call things by weird technobabbly names that don't actually make sense if you try to dig into them. How is a voodoo doll replicating DNA in any meaningful fashion? Beyond that,
it's only magic because you don't understand it.
Yeah, it's Clark's third law doesn't really apply here. That said, it's a pretty good first travel story of converting Martha to a companion, even though it pretends it's not. And everyone, I think at this point, everybody knows Martha's going to be the companion, like even when they were watching it when it aired. Shakespeare himself was pretty good. I would say the only thing that I consider a glaring issue other than nitpicks is the whole like being moon-eyed over someone you literally just met right after a season that was criticized for having a bit too much of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess that's the majority of my thoughts.
All right. Tim?
This was a pretty cool episode with a good dynamic between Martha and the Doctor. It hadn't gotten too far into the whole Martha is not Rose thing, although there are definitely hints of that. The historical aspect was handled very cool, and I just loved the character of Shakespeare, as well as the references to Harry Potter and Back to the Future in the same episode. So yeah, this was a pretty cool thing, and I think everything else has been covered pretty well.
You missed the very subtle reference to the movie Duck Soup.
Fredonia.
Fredonia. Hail, hail, Fredonia.
Fredonia, land of the brave and free.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that remembers that.
Oh, in addition to Doctor Who, I am a humongous Marxophile.
Oh, me too. Although Duck Soup,
I want to know more, but I've not had the time.
Duck Soup is actually one of my favorite Marx Brothers movies. That was the
My
first one I
favorite
ever
scene
saw.
is Swordfish.
My favorite Marx brother was Carl.
Ha ha.
You know, I do remember somebody saying, "Oh yeah, I love the Marx Brothers: Groucho, Zeppo, Chico, and Carl." I'm like, okay.
Oof. Run, Carl, run! You're in the wrong franchise.
All right.
Maybe even the wrong universe.
So my thoughts on this is it's a decent episode. It has some nitpicks. Yeah, the CGI is not that great. Yeah, they get their dates wrong and they get their Globe Theater wrong. But really, those are nitpicks. The story is pretty good, and the acting is very well done for this.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's not perfect, it's not ever going to be a 5 for me, but it's going to be pretty high to me because I really do like it. And the problems that we have with the Mooning Martha is basic. Great, I've now coined her Mooning Martha. Is going to be is seasonal problems, not episodic problems.
Yeah.
It's the ongoing issue, and the only reason I would ever feel the need to kick Russell T Davies in the dick, unlike the 600 reasons I have to kick Moffat in the dick.
I think I have about 20 reasons alone just for Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
Oh, yeah, he needs to be taken out back and shot for that. At least he didn't write that. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I like it. It's not the worst. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's certainly not the worst. Let's go to ratings. Matt, you're first.
Yeah, this is a very close one, but it does need some touches, so I'm going to say a 4.5. Just shy.
4.5. Okay. Thomas.
Honestly, to me, it's just that some of this it kind of just drags it down to being just kind of like good, but not good enough. So at least for now, this could always change, but I'll put it at a 3.5.
0.5. Bill.
So I'm right in the middle, actually. Solid 4.
All right. 4 from Bill. Tim.
There is nothing about this episode that I really hated, and I'm Tim, so I'm going to give this a 5.
And I'm with Bill. I'm going to give this a 4.
You broke the trend of everybody giving a unique rating.
Well, what could I give it that I would have had to
It would
give
have
it
to
a
be
3?
a 3, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give this a 3
Nah,
because
this
it's
is
above
definitely not a
average. Speaking of the average, that averages out to a 4.2. Making sure that comes over. Yes, it does. Rankings at a 4.2 will put this pretty high on our list. It will come in at number 109 of a possible 318 things reviewed. So in the top third. It is on par with Gridlock, which is the episode immediately after this one. The Time Meddler, Bad Wolf, The Parting of Ways, Legopolis, Inferno, The Mind Robber, Destiny of the Daleks, Frontier in Space, Hellbent, The Power of Krull. It is better than Army of Ghosts Doomsday, Mummy on the Orient Express, Under the Lake Before the Flood, State of Decay, Death to the Daleks, etc., but is not as good as Mind of Evil, Empress of Mars, Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead, Terror of the Autons, The Last Christmas, The Rescue, The Unquiet Dead, etc. So here we go. 109 of 318. That's all we have to say about the Shakespeare Code.
All right, so those listening at home, please like or dislike the video. Let us know how you feel, and post in the comments below. What did you think about the episode? And what were your favorite and least favorite things? Don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or to follow if you're watching on Twitch.
All right, so next week we're continuing the tribute to Tenet by moving forward a few episodes in Series 3. It's the episode starring Mark Gatiss, but not written by him. It is The Lazarus Experiment, written by Stephen Greenhorn and starring David Tennant as the Doctor and Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. So see you next week for that.
Good night.